Fireside Tales. Hello, I'm Merlin, Mililli. Welcome to my fireside, where I tell weird tales within tales. And I drink coffee. I drink coffee from my skull mug because I'm a deadhead. Because every week here at Fireside Tales, I've been telling the story of the Grateful Dead, as I heard it from a deadhead by a fire, as it should be told. So, I also talk about reincarnation. And the reason I tell the story of the Grateful Dead is because I believe it's a story about reincarnation. So, I'm a firm believer in reincarnation. The story is actually from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and it's an old Buddhist story. And Buddhists tend to believe in reincarnation. So I think it's a story about reincarnation. So I also talk about meditation, and every week I've been also talking about a meditative place called the Akasha, or the Akashic Records. It's an ancient library that you can only reach by meditation, and it is it's the library that houses each soul's book. So everyone has a book in the Akashic Records. Everyone doesn't seem to have access to the library, however. I was given a key through meditation when I was like 19 or 20. So the Akashic Records keeps track of where, when, and who you've been. So it's a record of all your past lives, if you've had any. It's a record of where your soul has been. So, and when your soul has been. So my book in the Akashic Records is unusually large compared to everyone else's. Mine is big and ugly and dusty, and Um, so there's this phenomena in my book that I also discuss every week, where the lives at the beginning of the book, everything is light and dry and sandy, and at the end of the book, they're dark and wet and muddy. So the watermark, for lack of a better term, seems to mark where time changed from BC to AD. And it also seems to mark where human lives seem to have changed length. I have fewer lives in the light, dry, sandy part, but they're all like 1,000 years long. And then I have more lives in the AD part, but they're all short. So there's a king's list carved into stone in multiple languages that seems to document the same thing. Almost exactly. So that's strange. The kings on the list before a certain point lived like thousands of years, and then it drops off and they live normal lives after a certain point. So in my book, I have these threads, and fire is one of them. Because I live in California, I discuss fire safety every week also. It's very important. Make sure you have water. I have water in my little cauldron for my smudge stick. I have water in my kettle up there. I have water in my sink around the corner and a sprayer. And if you have an outdoor fire, you want to have a bucket of sand and a shovel. You want to make sure that pit is dug down and has been lined with stones. You want to make sure that there's no overhanging branches and that none will grow in the way if you plan to leave that fire pit there after you build it. Just banged my elbow. Smarts. So, fire safety, very important. Only you can prevent forest fires. Now, I want to discuss something in this life that happened to me just this week because it was so amazing. I can't get it out of my mind. I went to take my dog out and just feet from where I sit now, I saw, well, right behind my studio where I make the love show. I make Fireside Tales in my house at my fireside. But I have a studio outside in the back, and feet from here. And this cat was in back, and I could see her ears and her eyes, and I didn't recognize her as one of the cats in the neighborhood. I actually said, "Oh, hi, kitty. What kitty are you?" And then I saw the rest of it because she moved a little and I could see her body, and it was as long as the studio, and she was maybe even longer, and she was sleek and black and beautiful and big, really, 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 really big. I'm calling her a panther. Some people are saying she was a black mountain lion. We actually do have panthers up here. They've been sighted on the other side of the mountain. Fire, talking about fire and fire safety, is what I think drew her this way. Because there were fires this summer on the other side of the mountain that could have pushed her to this side of the mountain. And anyway, my life has just totally changed since I ran into this cat. She just totally impressed me. And that night, I had these dreams that I went out hunting with her. And she taught me so much. I woke up full of like great, amazing knowledge. And it came from this cat. And supposedly, because sightings are so rare, they say that a black panther will seek out a person to change their life. And she totally has. I'm a different person since I ran into that cat. I'm just blown away by that. She didn't even try to attack. She just looked at us when I said, "Hi, kitty." She moved a little, but I was like, "Oh, you're a big kitty." I was like, "We should go in." And I turned around, and me and my dog didn't have any problems getting our butts inside. But I just found her this giant plethora of knowledge, and I am eternally grateful to her for everything. I changed my profile picture to a Black Panther. I'm all about Black Panthers now. Thinking of dyeing my hair back to its original black. She changed me. So, fire made me think of her. Everything makes me think of her. I can't stop thinking of this cat. So I wanted to share that with you. Since we're telling stories by the fireside, it seemed like an appropriate time to tell that story. So, another one of my threads is smudging. I've been doing this for thousands of years in different lifetimes. This is dried sage. When it's bundled, we call it a smudge stick. So when sage is burnt, it's an aura cleanser. The smoke is. So you burn it kind of like an incense, carefully, and then you smudge your aura. So, I feel better. And that's seems to work for me to get like other people's funk off of you, negativity and weird projected stuff and all that business. But then another of my links is grounding. I like to take my shoes off to ground. So I'm going to take my shoes off to ground. And it's a breathing exercise that one does to clean one's insides of your own inner turmoil and negativity. So blow all of that negative energy out. And then you breathe in positive energy and you think an uber positive thought. Excuse me. And you breathe out positive energy. Let me try that one more time because I coughed, so it didn't roll right. Okay. That's better. And you want to do it till you get it right, till you feel grounded. So, meditation is obviously one of my threads also. And astral travel is also one of my threads, which you can do in meditation. I actually did a guided meditation to meet your spirit guides here on the show because I don't recommend astral travel without your spirit guides. You should know them and take them with you. And another one of my threads is that I've been a medium and a psychic throughout all of my lives. Whether I've known it or not is a whole other animal, but I have been a medium and a psychic, and that I'm obviously capable of communicating with the spirit realm. So the spirits have a theory about reincarnation. Remember reincarnation? It's a show about reincarnation. The spirits have a theory that when somebody's reincarnated, they've also been murdered. My stomach made a response. So, I haven't been able to disprove this theory. But I can tell you the story of the Grateful Dead. But if that theory is true, I've been murdered a lot. So, the story of the Grateful Dead. Once, long, long ago, there was a traveler. It was so long ago that she traveled by foot. one day, she was traveling along by foot, and she happened upon a little village. As she got closer, she noticed there was a crowd. As she got closer still, she noticed the crowd was squabbling. They were arguing. As she got closer even still, she found that the crowd was arguing quite literally over a dead man's body. And she found that they were arguing over his debts and who was going to bury him and who was going to pay for that. And the traveler was disgusted. She thought this was gross and horribly disrespectful to the dead man laying there. So the traveler paid the dead man's debts and paid for a proper burial and prayed over the dead man's grave. And she traveled on. And then one day, decades later, she found herself in a life or death situation. This is the traveler from the beginning of the story. And in that life or death situation, a stranger came out of nowhere and just swooped her up and saved her life. Traveler said, "Thank you. Who are you? Where did you come from? Why did you save my life?" And the stranger simply said, "I am the Grateful Dead." It's a story about reincarnation. Zombies don't save lives. Some people think it's a zombie at the end. Some people think it's a corpse. Corpses don't save lives. Reincarnated people do. Decades later, that man died, was reborn in a little baby body, probably in that same village, and went on to grow up into an adult with a body capable of saving a person's life. And found the traveler and saved her life because he was grateful. He was grateful that she had paid his debts and paid for a proper burial and prayed over his grave. Get some more coffee. Full cup stays warm. Did you know that? It's like a planet. The bigger the planet, the warmer it is. The bigger the cup, the warmer it will stay. Less in the cup doesn't stay warm as long. Did you know that? Interesting little tidbit. So the stars and planets are one of my threads. I've always been a stargazer. And music and singing are one of my threads. Last season, I spoke of each life in my book just a little. Then I decided one episode, 45 minutes, just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough time to tell a person's life story. So I decided to give a whole season to each life. I might have to put all the really short ones in like one season or something. But yeah, so far now we're going all the way back to the beginning, to my very first life in my book, and we're working our way forward. So this season we've been discussing the life of an ancient Mayan named Little Flower. Little Flower was my very first life, so she is in the light, dry, sandy part of my book. So not only did she live 10,000 years ago, she also lived for thousands of years. We've talked about her culture and at what is now known as Machu Picchu in Peru. We discussed what we know, his story, and what I know, her story. We talked about Little Flower's birth parents, her childhood, her schooling, her teen years, her higher education, her profession, her life. And today, we are going to discuss her loves. I guess, though, I should say love. She loved her parents so much, and she loved her children so much. But the father of her children, he was the love of her long life. They were together for hundreds of years and happy for most of it. He was in the tribe, obviously, but was not a healer or a chief or in line for chief. But this status stuff mattered very little then. This is 10,000 years ago, before humans became, I don't know, biased. So this man, my husband, I guess it wasn't really a thing to have husbands and wives yet. It wasn't really a thing. But people were procreating, and this was who I chose to procreate with. This man has been in and out of my lives. All of them, pretty much. But usually, he shows up as my true love. In other lives, though, status becomes a problem. And sometimes that love was forbidden. Actually, in my future lives, it's more forbidden than allowed. A pattern? A thread? Maybe. Maybe I'm just doomed to suffer without love. My sister also had a thing for the father of my children in this life. But he was the father of my children, not hers. And he loved me, not her. So maybe that is why I walk the earth unloved. I'm cursed. probably by my sister. So I think there was a big cat in the mountains of Peru. I'm sure there's big cats in the mountains of Peru that in 1,000 or so years, I'm sure I ran into one there that probably changed my life then. I haven't looked it up since I ran into the cat to see. I didn't really think about that. But now that I'm starting to think about it more, I'm thinking the cat might be a thread. And that's why she so profoundly affected me. They also say that now that she chose me, that she is my spirit animal, which makes a lot of sense, actually. And she may have been my spirit animal all along. Excuse me. I think there's a jaguar in the medicine card deck. But I was told I was the skunk. That was my spirit animal. And then I got sprayed by a skunk. Skunks don't usually spray other skunks. But it was eating my dog food outside of my RV. And I had no shoes on. I stepped on it with bare feet. It was the softest thing I'd ever felt on my feet, though. Excuse me. But I never really felt like I was a skunk animal. You rarely see skunks. I'm seen. People see me. I don't think, well, yeah, I mean, you rarely see Black Panthers as well, but I guess they're similarly formidable, but not really. I mean, getting eaten by a Black Panther and getting sprayed by a skunk are probably two very different things. So, every week here at Fireside Tales, I've been singing a song about reincarnation at the end of each show. And I was at first singing Deja Vu by David Crosby. And then I wrote my own song called Before. Eventually I'll learn it and won't need the lyrics, but it's just my insurance policy. Sometimes I get nervous, forget what I'm doing, or I have another song in my head. So it's my insurance policy. But today, since it's the first full day of winter, and this weekend, well, Friday will open up a Christmas weekend. So I would like to do a Christmas song, sort of. I don't really like Christmas songs all that much because I'm not a Christian, technically. I'm a Druid, so I celebrate solstice. So I celebrated yesterday. I made rolled pizzas, which are a tradition in my family we call scotchas. And it's a Sicilian thing that goes back to the time before Christ, to the dry, sandy part of my book. And the Mililli family is that old. And one is tomato and cheese, and the other is ricotta, cheese, and sausage. I do veggie sausage because I'm a vegetarian. And you roll them up, kind of like a nut cake, or a jelly roll, or a cinnamon roll, even. And then you serve slices, but you cook it like a bread. And it comes out like a loaf of bread. And interestingly, apparently they used to do calculations of stone circles, which are another thread of mine. They used to do calculations in stone circles, and there's some calculations that you can only do with a loaf of bread by each lintel. So these may have been made for that. I don't know exactly, but it goes back far enough that they could have been made, and they were always made on winter solstice. And these were winter solstice calculations that you needed a loaf of bread by each lintel for. So I made scotcha yesterday, and I still have lots of it. So yay! And I really, well, one of my threads is music and singing, and I really miss improvisational music. The Grateful Dead is primarily improvisational music. I prefer improvisational music, so I'm going to throw in at the end of Before an improvisational instrumental, because I think maybe rock singers are better at Christmas carols if we don't sing them. So I'm going to try an improvisational version of Jingle Bells. Go simple. And not Christian, but bells. Bells are a symbol of freedom and liberty and spirit and soul and love. And they dispel negativity. Did you know, like, just like the smudge stick, did you know a bell will dispel negativity as well? I'm just full of rhymes. It must be time. Therefore, to sing my song, Before. I forgot my pick again. It's okay. I'll rock it out without it. reincarnation, 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 reincarnation. I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. Somebody stabbed me in the back, and now I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. But I lack memory of who I was. I must look back, but I lack memory of who I was before. Then I opened the door and I found out who I've been before. Who I was when I was where I was before. I opened the door to find it there. No more, no more, no more. Before. improv. It's fun. That's the thing I love about it the most. Whew. Jingle all the way, folks. Jingle all the way. Oh, well, I guess that's about it for me today. Have a weird and wonderful winter weekend. Have a great holiday, and thanks for starting it by my fireside. A Mililli Studios production.